Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here at the Heritage Foundation in our Lewis Lehrman Auditorium. We, of course, welcome those who join us on our internet site at all of these occasions. Would ask everyone here in-house if you'll be so kind to make sure cell phones have been turned off as we prepare to begin. It will be appreciated. We, of course, welcome our friends from C-SPAN Book TV who will be joining us on a future occasion. And we will post the program on our Heritage website within 24 hours for everyone's future reference as well. It is my privilege today to introduce a great American and a good friend of the Heritage Foundation, L. Brent Bozell III. Lecturer, syndicated columnist, television commentator, debater, marketer, businessman, author, publicist, and activist. Mr. Bozell is one of the most outspoken and effective national leaders in the conservative movement today. Founder and president of the Media Research Center, he runs the largest media watchdog organization in America with over 500,000 members nationwide. His efforts have made media bias a household term. In 1998, Mr. Bozell launched cnsnews.com, an online news service with an emphasis on investigative journalism. In October 2006, he founded the Culture and Media Institute, whose mission is to thwart the efforts of the liberal media to subvert America's culture, character, traditional moral values, and religious liberty. He also launched a number of other websites under the Media Research Center umbrella, including mediaresearch.org, timeswatch.org, mrcaction.org, and newsbusters.org, a blog site that became one of the top 15 blog sites in America within just 2 months of its launch in 2005. Founder and former president of the Parents Television Council, Mr. Bozell also established the largest Hollywood-based organization dedicated to restoring responsibility to the entertainment industry. The Parents Television Council website features the Family Guide to Primetime Television, which aids parents in making informed viewing decisions for their children. In 2010, Mr. Bozell founded For America, an organization committed to restoring America to its founding principles. Within less than a year, For America grew to over 1.5 million Facebook followers. And in his spare time, he authors a nationally syndicated column, provides media commentary on major networks and cable affiliates, and speaks frequently on school campuses and for civic and political organizations around the country. It's a pleasure to welcome our good friend back to Heritage, L. Brent Bozell. Brent?
Thank you, John, and my thanks to the Heritage Foundation for inviting me. If I cough, I've just got this ticklish thing going on, so I apologize ahead of schedule. Okay, so why a book about media bias? I mean, there's an earth-shattering topic. When Steve Forbes came to me about 2010, we were chatting, and he asked me, how bad were the media in 2008, really? And I said, 100% in the tank for Barack Obama. And he said, well, how is it going to be in 2012? And I said, worse. He laughed, and he said, how could that be? And I said, well, in 2008, they didn't care about John McCain. In 2012, they will not only be 100% in the tank for Barack Obama, but they will be 100% committed to the defeat of any Republican challenging Barack Obama. So move forward to the end of the 2012 campaign, and I get a call from an editor at HarperCollins recommending that I do a book about the 2012 elections and suggesting a title, Collusion, How the Media Stole the 2012 Elections. I have to confess I was cool to the idea at first. One, because I didn't think this was an earth-shattering topic that we didn't know about already, but secondly, because I don't get into hyperbole and collusion stealing elections. It's just not my cup of tea. My colleague, Tim Graham, thought otherwise. He thought maybe there's more to the story than we see based on our day-to-day analysis of it. So he went off for about 2 months with all the research compiled from 2012 and some additional research that he did gather from other sources. He came back and we looked at it. I called the editor and I said, I'll do the book and we'll call it just what you wanted us to call it because I can defend it. What we saw in 2012 was beyond what I thought we were going to see. It was beyond it in the sense that it was shameless. There was no attempt whatsoever by the national quote-unquote news media to report news in 2012. From the beginning of the campaign past the end of the campaign, what the media served to do was advance the reelection of Barack Obama, the man for whom they had invested so much of their time and efforts in 2008 and were so committed to his success. We saw where the politics of commission were concerned, as every Republican came forward as a viable challenger to Barack Obama, he or she was chopped at the knees, not on policy, not on politics, but on personal issues. Every single one. Just go back and think about it. The first one out of the box, before she even came out of the box, Sarah Palin. What do we have about Sarah Palin? We had a reporter who took a house next to her vacation house to spy on her, who came out with a book suggesting she does cocaine, suggesting she had sex with basketball players or something. No evidence whatsoever, just gossip, and presented to it. She came out with her book. Now, folks, those of you who know anything about the book publishing business know that it's a great honor if you have somebody vet your book. It's not so much of an honor if 2 people are vetting your book, or 3 people. AP had 9 people reportedly vetting Sarah Palin's book, looking for anything they could find to hit her on. But her critics' book, nobody had anything to say about him. Michelle Bachmann, she is the first one out of the blocks as a declared candidate. You saw the attacks on her. She was painted as a Christian zealot. Remember the Time magazine cover on her? I mean, she looked like the devil incarnate. If the devil were female, that would be Michelle Bachmann. All the stories about her husband's ministry back in Minnesota and tying her to it as if something was wrong because somebody might believe that a homosexual might become a non-homosexual, that was an earth-shattering development that required national attention. Well, she was done with in very short order. Herman Cain. Herman Cain comes along. Now, he could have been covered as a sensation, as a Tea Party sensation, as was Michelle Bachmann. Instead, what did we learn about Herman Cain? We learned allegations of marital infidelity. Interesting. In journalism, there is a rule that is sacrosanct. If you don't have 2 sources, you don't have a story. Until you have 2 sources, you don't report a story. Think about this. There were, I believe it was, 78 national network stories on Herman Cain's alleged infidelities without a single source. There were over 110 stories, I believe it was in 2 weeks, which is beyond an avalanche of coverage on Herman Cain. That's what America got to know about Herman Cain. Rick Perry. Never mind that as a governor, he has arguably the single greatest, most successful track record of any governor in America today. He was an idiot. He was a doofus. 2 + 2 was a challenge for this man. And then there was that rock. We all know about that rock, don't we? That rock with the N-word on the ranch in 1982, when his parents were on vacation. The one that they painted over because they found offensive. National news story, stop the presses. Rick Perry, Texan, little bit of racism going on there. He's done with. Newt Gingrich. Newt Gingrich comes along, and boom, we have a breaking, explosive story. His former wife doesn't like him. And she's given an interview to a network to say it. You know, there's a stop the presses story for you. Mitt Romney. Rick Santorum. Rick Santorum. Ladies and gentlemen, think about this. Did we need to know who Karen Santorum was dating before she ever met Rick Santorum. More importantly, did their children deserve to hear these stories? Did it have any bearing on a presidential race other than to smear Rick and Karen Santorum? Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney comes along. This is a delicious apples to apples comparison. Mitt Romney has a 5,400 word essay devoted to him in the Washington Post. In that essay, we learn, again, stop the presses here, that when he was, 16, 15, he cut some boy's hair. Oh, yes, he did. And we learn it the very same day that Barack Obama switched his position on gay rights. The boy allegedly was a homosexual. Aha! The story is not Barack Obama switching his position. The point is that we have to cover Mitt Romney was a homophobe. Now, never mind, this man is now dead, is deceased. His parents, his family, said that story was false. This boy's family disputed that story. But 5,400 words devoted to it. That's what we needed to know about Mitt Romney's youth. Shortly thereafter, same newspaper, 5,500 words on Barack Obama's youth. And what did we learn there? We learned he loved basketball. Barack Obama loved basketball. That's the theory. That's the signature. That's the takeaway from his youth. This is a newspaper that would love to do muckraking, but they can't, because all we know is that he loved basketball. Barack Obama loved something else in high school. He wrote about it in his own book. He loved to do pot. He was a pothead in high school. He was a member of the Chum Gang. He writes all about it. How in the world, writing a 5,500 word essay on Barack Obama's high school years, could you omit that? If that isn't biased by omission, I don't know what it is. Now, is this cataclysmic? Is this something that caused the election in 2012? No, but it was the daily grind of coverage in 2012. It went all the way up to and through the debates. Candy Crowley, what Candy Crowley did was an abomination. Now, I will say the good news on the debate coverage was I never in a million years thought we would get the performance we got from Jim Lehrer and especially Bob Schieffer. They both did terrific jobs in covering the conventions. They should both be applauded. And those of us who were convinced they would do a terrible job need to say so. But Candy Crowley, she's the one I would have put money on was going to be the dispassionate, objective journalist as a moderator, and she was the one who saved Barack Obama in what would have been a cataclysmic second debate defeat. When Barack Obama declared that on the night of the Benghazi attacks, he denounced the attack as being a terrorist attack. Remember the picture of Mitt Romney looking at him in disbelief, as if to say, I can't believe you just made me the next president of the United States? And in came Candy Crowley, saying, no, Mitt Romney, that's not true, the president's right. To which Barack Obama then looks at her with the same startled look and says, say it again. I want everyone to hear that. He couldn't believe the assist he just got from Candy Crowley. He was wrong and she was wrong. Mitt Romney lost the golden moment in that debate. Now, I'm not suggesting it is the sole reason Mitt Romney lost. Mitt Romney lost for an alphabet soup of reasons. I still keep counting them. Yesterday for Mitt Romney to come out and say that defunding Obamacare is not a good strategic move. Mitt Romney, give us a lot of advice, but not on strategy. The campaign ended. Mitt Romney didn't know what had hit him. A tremendous disservice was done to Mitt Romney and to the Republicans But that disservice that was done continued. And this is the remarkable thing. Just as the Obama campaign did not stop on Election Day, so too has this not stopped since Election Day. Now, going into the elections, think about the number of scandals involving Barack Obama that could have been and should have been covered. And as you think about these, just ask yourself, do we know what happened? Simple. Do we know what happened? Solyndra and all the other green companies that got hundreds of millions of dollars, it going to Obama supporters. Do we know what happened to that money? Total billions of dollars. Fast and Furious. Do we know who authorized it? Do we know what happened? Do we know where those guns are now? Do we know it's ended? Little things. Eric Holder announcing he's not going to prosecute Black Panther leaders who were intimidating voters. Why? How could he make that kind of a judgment? Big things. Benghazi. On election night, think about this. I'm sorry, the night that Benghazi broke, think about this. How much time was devoted the day after the Benghazi attacks, how much time was devoted to Mitt Romney and the statements he made about Benghazi by the networks? Answer, 9 minutes, 25 seconds. How much time was devoted to Barack Obama and the Obama administration and their handling of Benghazi? 28 seconds. How is this news? How is this fair? How in any way is this a semblance of objective journalism? There were so many of these scandals that were unraveling. Obamacare. Never mind what you think of Obamacare. It is scandalous to see the results of Obamacare, given what the American people were promised. We were promised rates wouldn't go up. They're skyrocketing for everybody. We were promising it wasn't going to cost more than $900 and some million. What is it, $3 billion now and rising? We were told you could keep your own health insurance. Guess what? You're losing it. On and on and on. Things that were promised weren't so. Isn't that something that deserved to be covered? It being the signature policy issue of the Obama administration. You tell me where the coverage was. You show me where they covered that issue. You can't. On election night, Obama wins. The next day, Obama continues. The campaign continues. The media campaign for Barack Obama has not stopped. Think about it. Look at the scandals today. And then I want you to ask yourself the importance of these scandals. I'm going to use Richard Nixon as the comparative here. I'm going to use Watergate as a comparative here. Let's take first Benghazi. If it is true that this administration, for political reasons, did not offer the military support that might have saved the lives of 4 men, one of them being the ambassador to Libya, is that more important than a break-in at Watergate? Fast and Furious. If it is true that this administration, through its Attorney General, countenanced the sale of arms in Mexico that led to the death of an American agent and reportedly 200 Mexicans, is that more important than Watergate? The IRS scandal. If it is true that this administration is complicit in an effort to use the most feared arm of government against its own citizenry for political purposes, is that more important than Watergate? Now, that could be a judgment call. How anybody could dispute it, I'll never know. But should it be worthy of some coverage by somebody in the press? How in the world can you say this is news? Pulled out some numbers for you. In my pocket, I have a list. Just give you some semblance of the world around you. The IRS. This has been covered by NBC since June 27th, not at all. In fact, there was one reference, not even a story, in NBC. ABC has not touched this story in 6 weeks, even as we see one development after another, such as the story that it was C2 rogue agents in Cincinnati is about as honest as a story about a video in Benghazi. The fact that various people are doing things like taking the fifth, I mean, this kind of Nixonian, I don't know. And now, what do we know? What have we learned? It is, if not at the front step, it is at the back door of the Obama administration. Barack Obama's political appointee to the IRS was getting reports, requesting and getting those reports. How is that not a story? Well, in the month of July, CBS did a story totaling 92 seconds. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the totality of the coverage of the IRS scandal before the American people. They have deliberately, there's no other way of putting this, they have deliberately chosen not to cover an enormous scandal that, if it were a Republican, would bring down the administration. Benghazi. Where are they covered? Well, the last time there was a news story on Benghazi, are you ready? On Evening News, May 16th. Think about it. May 16th. What do we know about Benghazi? The fact that we don't know anything about Benghazi. That's what we know. Where are the interviews with the people who were there? Can you name me a single interview with anyone who was there? They haven't been interviewed. They can't be found for some such reason. Last night, the first coverage, what did we hear? A Libyan has been charged. It took, 8 months to look at the tape that showed who was doing it? And in the stories that were done last night, not one reference to the fact that this administration had blamed it on a video. Not one reference to the fact that this video no one took responsibility for putting that statement out. Not one reference to the bungling of this investigation. Not one reference to the statement made by numerous officials connected with the military and safety of our embassies, saying these 4 men's lives could have been saved. Not one reference to it. So, what about another issue that really hits home to them? How about wiretapping of themselves? Do you think you'd be upset if you were wiretapped? If your colleagues were wiretapped? Would that be a story? James Rosen, an unindicted co-conspirator, named so by the Justice Department for committing the crime of journalism, for simply trying to investigate these stories. An accusation backed up by the Attorney General of the United States. If that isn't an outrage to the journalism community, what could be? You know when the last time there was a story done on that? June 6th. What about the wiretapping of AP reporters going into their files. It's a whole company they went after. And we don't know if it's just AP. But we know it was AP. You'd think there'd be outrage. I want to know what this administration is doing to me and to my industry. How dare they wiretap my phones and get my emails? I'm a journalist. How dare they do that? I want answers. Well, the last time they did a report on that was May 29th. They clearly don't want answers. So, where does it leave us? It leaves us to the point that Barack Obama can do the politically impossible. He can dismiss these as phony scandals. People are stunned. How can you dismiss the murder of an American border agent as a phony scandal? Tell that to the family of Brian Terry. How can you dismiss the deaths, the murders of 4 American citizens in Benghazi, including Ambassador Stevens, the man you purported to care so much about, as a phony scandal? How can you dismiss the greatest possible abuse of government power, sicking the IRS on its citizens, as a phony scandal? Why? Because Barack Obama can. Because you all don't understand why. Because you aren't the average American out there who might rely on ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, the New York Times, or the Washington Post, or those such entities for your news. If you do, you've not heard any of these stories. You've just heard noise. And Barack Obama now can come in and say, it's nothing but noise. I'm trying to do my job. I'm trying to do what the President of the United States must do. And these Republicans are just mudding everything up with these phony scandals. And it's working. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't think media bias is a problem, I can't help you. If the Republican Party doesn't understand that it is its #1 priority to do something about it, it will never come out of the weeds. And that's why I wrote the book. Thank you. I'll take questions.
Brent will recognize the questioners. If you'd be so kind as to state your name and an affiliation, it would be appreciated as a nice courtesy. I'll let you start off.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Microphone. Thanks.
Tyler O'Neill with the Christian Post. Focusing on the effects of the 2012 election and your findings in your book about media bias, how would you connect that to the Christian community specifically, and how has the media really damaged their standing in America?
Let's give one organization as an example, Family Research Council. A man, my good buddy is here at Corrigan, and he and I have breakfast there every Wednesday, and sometimes I wonder why. A man walked in to that office building last summer with a gun and opened fire. And it was only because of the heroic effort of a security guard who was shot that lives were saved. This man came in with a bag full of Chick-fil-A sandwiches with the intention of putting one next to the cadaver of every person he shot. Is that a news story? You think? Wasn't covered. How is it not news? Meanwhile, you've got a radical left-wing group, the Southern Poverty Law Center, proclaiming that the Family Research Council, a Christian organization, is a hate group. And that isn't covered. But they are. The Southern Poverty Law Center, they have instant credibility in what they do and whatever they say. But they're not covered. The antagonism towards the Christian community transcends really antagonism. It is outright bigotry against Christians. And the press are enablers of it. There's no two ways of putting it. You are not allowed to have a thought, never mind speak it, that you believe that traditional marriage is between a man and a woman. To believe that the right to life is a sacred right puts you, never mind that the majority of Americans believe this, in this town, in that industry, it makes you a nut job. And you're reported that way. So the hostility to Christians is profound, profound in the news media. And I don't see it lightening up at all. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Michael Crone. I'm actually a PhD math student at George Mason, but I'm here mostly for my interest in the abortion issue and, what can be done about the media coverage of it. My question is whether I have wondered myself whether a candidate could be successful by pushing the nut job identity onto the media early on proactively. In other words, saying, I can't believe people are listening to these people. I mean, and using examples like the one you gave, but in that tone.
If I were a campaign manager, that's exactly what I would say. What was the single golden moment, shining moment for Newt Gingrich in Georgia? He took on the media. He's catapulted to first place. The moment he opened up on the media, he did it twice. And that wasn't spontaneous. Nothing Newt Gingrich does is spontaneous. That was very well thought out. He's a master strategist, and it was the right thing to do, and it catapulted him into first place. Look, everybody talks about how unpopular the Congress is. The media are even more unpopular than Congress. I saw one the other. Their approval rating is about 8%. That's nothing to write home about. It's not a very wise thing to go out to middle America and say, hi, I'm a reporter for the Washington Post. That's going to win you friends. It should be the position of a candidate running to give them one chance, to say at the outset, I'm going to give you one chance to be fair and balanced. If you're not, I'm coming after you. I'm going to make you the issue in this campaign. And it will take no effort whatsoever to do that. But I always believe you give them an opportunity. Always give them the first opportunity, then eviscerate them. Yes, sir.
Jordan Hess. I'm a Senate staffer. Where does social media fit into this? Is that a way around the TV and the news, and is that a way that we can kind of, because it looks like a lot of what is getting done, and from the conservative standpoint, our message seems to be working via Facebook and Twitter and those avenues. Where does that fit into all of this?
Very good point. Social media and the internet, the digital media as a whole, present a tremendous opportunity for conservatives to communicate with one another. Kind of feel sometimes like the early Christian church. I have to kind of make the sign of a fish when I'm talking to a fellow conservative. You can do that now through the internet, and nobody can get in your way. And the Washington Post can't distort what you say, and CBS can't distort what you say, and ABC can't distort what you say. You can communicate directly with your fellow man. It is an awesome weapon that we have. Their days, their monopoly is broken. There's no question about it. They're still powerful. They still command audiences of millions, but their numbers are going down, 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 down every day. I mean, you just saw what happened. The New York Times sold the Boston Globe at a 97% loss. I mean, France does better business deals than that.
I thought they overpaid.
They overpaid, probably. The Washington Post, $250 million. That's chump change compared to what it was worth 10 years ago. So the writing's on the wall for them. But the equally good news is that we now have a vehicle to communicate. Why so many people don't understand that? Those who do are doing very, very well. But I will caution you. I mean, we have I think we have the largest social media army in the movement now. We have 3.5 million with For America. But I will caution you something about the internet and about social media. We have to be very careful. We are very critical of liberals in the old media who don't follow the rules. In the new media, there are no rules. It's the Wild Wild West. And as a result, some pretty nasty things can happen. and I've seen happen on both sides, much more so by liberals. The way stories are spread, the rumors that percolate out there, the damage they do is enormous. Conservatives, be careful, because I've seen that too. I've seen the black helicopter stories. I've seen the stories where they go with one source, that being my crazy cousin. And out the story comes. Why? Because it gets you eyeballs, it gets you readers, it gets you advertising. Not a good thing to do for the movement. So it is a vehicle. It's the future, by the way. Their days our old media days are numbered. It is the future, but we have to be as responsible as we possibly can be, because if that medium is abused, then we lose all credibility. Yes, sir.
So how else can we,
Let's get the microphone, please. Thank you.
in addition to actually attacking the media, how else can we stop them from doing it again in 2016 without giving away your whole book? Any other pearls of wisdom?
Well, I believe that I would like to have a Maserati in my driveway. I would also like to believe that the media will do a good job in 2016. Neither is going to happen. So long as I continue being blinded by that reality, so too am I going to suffer. I was so pleased to see what Reince Priebus did. So pleased to see him stand up to NBC and CNN and say, if you're going to do this kind of one-sided, doing a mini-series on Hillary Clinton, for God's sakes, we're not going to play. And you know what? They don't need to play. They don't need to do an interview. Even Barack Obama plays that game. He goes on Leno, but he just in the wild case that somebody might ask him a tough question, which will never come from Matt Lauer, it'll never come from Croft. But if somebody else might ask him a tough question, he just doesn't do the interviews. Republicans don't need to either. Why do you go on there? What I tell my Republican friends is, if you go on a national interview, one, make it live. Don't do anything taped. I don't trust the SOBs. Number two, if a reporter distorts something, it's live. Call him out on national television. Mr. So-and-so, what you just said is incorrect. Here's the fact. Please look at the camera and correct it to your millions of listeners and viewers. These are the facts. Make them sweat. Make them tell the truth. Put them on the hot seat. They're going to put you on the hot seat, put them right back on the hot seat. If they're going to conduct an honorable, honest, it can be a smash-mouth interview. It can be brass knuckles. I don't have a problem with that, so long as it's honest and honorable. And you do it to the other side as well. But if they're not going to play by those rules, why do you participate? That's my first rule to them, is stand up to them and be very choosy about who you talk to. You don't need them. They need you. Yes, sir.
Jeff Gaynor with Council for America. You alluded to how Candy Crowley threw a lifeline to Barack Obama in the presidential debates. I wonder in 2016 what your suggestion would be as to how the debates, if they have them, should be structured in both the primaries and the general election, because even in the primaries, with George Stephanopoulos cornering Mitt Romney on the contraception question, you sort of threw that debate out.
Sure. There were lots of gotcha moments. And George Stephanopoulos did was shameful. Boy, there's another newsflash. Contraception was never a part of this campaign. But it was what Barack Obama wanted. Barack Obama kept bringing it up. Now, you expect a politician to do those kind of shenanigans. But for a journalist to have given him oxygen that way is beyond the pale. So I have a lot more problem with with George Stephanopoulos doing this than Barack Obama doing this. Okay, so moving forward to the other debates. I don't know that I want to get involved in the debate about debates, about the number of debates. That's somebody else's game to play, not mine. But I think Republicans have to be much, much choosier about these debates. After every election, Republicans complain about the debates when, in fact, they agreed to everything in the debates. There's just so much blame you can cast on the other side before you start taking some responsibility yourself. Why were there no presidential debates hosted by Fox? Democrats said they wouldn't participate in one with Fox. Republicans should have said, fine, we'll up you. We're not going to participate with CNN, MSNBC, and NBC. How do you like them apples? Republicans could win that debate. Republicans could say, we're going to go on Breitbart. We're going to do a debate with Newsmax. Guess what? You can reach just as many people that way, too. I mean, they've got to be choosier on what they do. When you pick a network, pick a reporter that has a history of being fair and balanced. Judy Woodruff don't. Does that help? Yes, sir. I'm being unfair to Judy Woodruff. I just threw out her name. There are plenty who don't.
Adam Brickley at Heritage Now, but former CNS News intern. Off-the-wall question, but I'm wondering if you or anyone...
Can I give you an off-the-wall answer?
Yeah, well,
All right.
I said it was an off-the-wall question. But I'm wondering if you or anyone else has had the chance to look at the development of all the way things are going in the international media and how they boomerang into the U.S. media, because I watch a lot of international news, and the first person who ever got taken down by the sorts of smear tactics over personal comments was Stockwell Day in Canada in 2000, when the media figured out he said something creationist in a private Bible study, and by the end of the campaign, the media on his campaign bus was singing Meet the Flintstones when it drove off. And you're reading all sorts of things in the Australian media now about how they're importing Obama campaign strategists in attempts to turn the conservative leader down there, Tony Abbott, into a misogynist over the fact that he banged the wall next to somebody in the 1970s. So has anyone looked at how this is really just proliferating all over?
Well, I think that it's a little different overseas because in so many of these countries, because of the nature of the governments, the people know the nature of the media. In Nicaragua, during the 1980s, you had two newspapers. In Managua, you had Barricada and Nuevo Diario, I think it was. Barricada was the mouthpiece of the Sandinistas. Nuevo Diario was the mouthpiece of the Chamorros family. And the people there knew it. They knew they were getting a communist position here and a conservative position there. So that wasn't too problematic. It's not too problematic, I think, in so many places. I think it's more problematic when you don't have a media in countries with a dwindling free press, as in Russia. The problem is when their media come on our shores because we're so gullible. And there's a reason why Russian Times it's got a television station in the United States. It isn't because they want to be a news operation for the United States. It is because they have a mission in the United States. There's a reason why Al Jazeera is in the United States. It's not because they want to come alongside Fox. It's because they have a mission in the United States. Too many of our citizenry are oblivious to this. They're oblivious to the agenda of BBC. And so I worry about the impact it has on them. I don't worry so much about the impact these outlets have on their own people. I think their own people understand where they're coming from. Yes, sir.
Al Milliken, AM Media. Do you see the current New York City mayor race impacting the 2016 national elections? And would you suggest or have any ideas for media strategies for those political opponents of Anthony Weiner, his wife, and those in their political orbits?
Must I? Well, I mean, this really just points to the triteness of journalism today. How embarrassing. How embarrassing that they have to report it the way they're reporting it. The people of New York deserve what they get. when they allow someone like Weiner or Spitzer back into the public arena. I'm sorry, you deserve it. But for the news media to cover that with nonstop shock and awe while ignoring everything I just talked about, for them to do 193 stories, I could be wrong on this, I think it's 193 stories in 1 week, Christian, was it? Or less than that, on the birth of the baby in England. You know, God love the couple. After one story, I was done. 193 stories. But IRS, Benghazi, NSA, wiretapping, what is it, too difficult? So when they do the Weiner kind of stuff, you know, I don't know what to suggest. Where Republicans are concerned, it is such a double standard. We've covered this. It is amazing. I don't have the numbers here, but we have them back in the office. And we come out with reports on this. When there is a scandal involving a Democrat, it is stunning to see the degree to which they'll go to not say it was a Democrat. Now, the ABCs of journalism, if you're doing a story on an elected official, and you know, the next thing as important as his first name and his last name is his party affiliation. And story after story after story. And we've seen it with one scandal after another, whether you're the mayor of Detroit going to jail, whether you're the governor of Illinois, you know, it just goes on and on and on. They just obliterate the label. But if you're a Republican, it leads with Republican. Republican Larry Craig today. And you see that coverage. It is stunning, the double standard. This is something Republicans have to live with. But Republicans are treated this way because they allow the media to treat them this way. This is why the Republican Party has to stand up, which is why I applaud the chairman of the party for having done that. It's the first step. There's a lot more to do. But these candidates and these party leaders have to stand up to the press and say, no more of that. We're not asking for favoritism. We're asking for fairness. And if not, we're going after your stockholders. We're going to go to your boards. We're going to make an issue out of you. And if your corporate sponsors say bye-bye, we're going to be on the dock waving goodbye. That needs to be the position that Republican Party officials take on this. Or don't complain.
One more?
Going.
Going.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brent. And of course, we do have copies of the book available in the foyer if you would like to purchase them. He will stay up here on the stage and can sign books and talk to you further afterwards. We thank you for your kind attention and hope to see you again soon in the future.